sugar's still kind of high, I mean, in the 300s. And Don, I talked to Leo today, and I asked him about it, he said it could be, I said, he says sugar levels have been in the ones and 200s, he said, lately, which is good for him.
Yeah.
And he said, and then all of a sudden shot to 400 after being confused.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't put nothing together. I mean, he says, I can't put my stuff right. This is what he said, what are you talking about? If I figured out his words,
Yeah.
together.
Right.
He was not making sense with Tommy yesterday, so I said, did you call me at school? And I talked to him. She said, yeah. I said, yeah, send him on. It probably is that he's not active enough. He doesn't do things enough like he's supposed to, control.
Yeah.
And,
I
and it could be, he sneaks food or something. He does eat a lot of chips, but I do too.
That's carbs.
Yeah, it is, but he doesn't eat a lot with it. I mean, his portions of everything are small.
You think it's getting cool in here?
Huh?
You think it's getting too cool in here?
Little bit.
But this,
Or ain't no wind, just kind of heavy.
got rats in my hair.
Well, it's just, I don't know what it is. I mean, they moved into a room, so he's obviously not put home tonight. Although they did move Tom into a room in less than an hour later, but he's here one time. I mean, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Well, they put Mary Frances on prednisone, and they said they're gonna give it really high to her and then lower it over 3 days. But she's a mess. It's bad. She was confused, when your oxygen and all gets like that, your brain just ain't working.
His option's 9,900. I mean,
I know my mom's vitals is better than mine.
I finally got to talk, well, I talked to his nurse on the phone last night. We went out there. I has to sit in the car because she can't go in here. She's so immunosuppressed, whatever is going on in there. And so I talked to him. Luckily, he's in a room. He wasn't in a hallway, but he didn't know what's going on.
Very uncomfortable in the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Them beds or them gurneys.
Yeah, they're not great, but they're better than being in a hall.
Yeah.
He's, I don't know, I mean, he was watching. Last night he seemed okay. But then I left and the nurse called me and said he got confused and stuff like that. Then I walked in today and he had this headband thing on and they had a wire going somewhere else. He said,
Was that something new?
I said, what is that? And he said, oh, I told him my head was cold. And they gave me this hat thing. And I said, Dad, it's not a hat. It's just a headband. He told me, he said, well, I don't know what it is. So I asked the nurse, and the thing you put on your finger, it touches your oxygen, these are too cold. They wouldn't get a good reading.
Oh.
So they had one, they wrap around your head. And he has it on all the time now.
Oh.
I sent a picture to Donna for me what it was. I said, have you ever seen him? She said, what, is he in a gang now? She was out of the car. She's in a lot of pain tonight. That's why she's out of the house.
I'm hot natured. I ran around the church 3 or 4 times, so
Well, it quit.
lunch.
I mean, it just
I pulled weeds, I took trash. Picked up cans.
I saw the weeds.
Yeah, I hate weeds.
I do too, but we've got plenty of them here.
Yeah.
I was raised by my dad. He felt like if you mow them, they stay green right along.
Yeah, and they found out when my mom, she had a scan done Monday, they were looking for cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But what they found was her pelvis is fractured. And her vertebrae is fractured. And then she has a lymph node on her lungs that may need to be biopsied or cryo something, freeze. And so I don't know. But she had to fall and didn't tell us.
Oh, yeah. But you have to stop that.
Ain't nothing we can do. We're just hanging out there in the wind. Yeah, that's all we're doing. Look at the socks you have on.
Baseball.
Oh, okay.
Donna's got me into these around the school and stuff.
That's cute. Yeah. So we're doing the Marco Polo app for our sisters, and
Mhm.
the whole drama that played out when Mama was found was on Marco Polo. So it was hours of fussing at her. I didn't think that was gonna be a problem. I said,
What's the
what?
Marco Polo app?
It's where you can talk to each other, make a video discussion,
Mhm.
and you invite who you want. So,
Oh, okay,
yeah, it's Marco Polo. Yeah.
okay. I sent you an invite to
Yeah, I seen that.
Google Teams. That's what we use.
Okay.
For the same thing. It's cool.
Oh, okay.
Thought maybe we could broadcast on it eventually. You might have to worry about all this computer stuff. Um,
I hate that about your dad. I know
well, I mean,
with diabetes,
been
that's,
coming for a couple days now. Not that long, but a couple days. He's gotten real confused sometimes when he tries to think of something.
mm,
And of course, a lot of that is just, he's always got confused about what day it is, because he does the same thing every day.
right,
He tries to keep track, but he can't.
yeah.
I guess I could be a calendar.
Well, that's what I told Mom. I was gonna get her one of those whiteboards where you can wipe off, and I was gonna put stuff up there. Today is,
That's every day though.
I know, well, I go every day, unfortunately.
And and then Donna got mad. She said, people next door, they all came out on the ambulance up here to watch. They all came out of the house to watch.
Wow,
Of course, I don't know speak English, I don't think.
they don't. They don't. A little boy, I was speaking to the lady, inviting her to church, and he says, she doesn't speak English. And I said, well, just tell her she's welcome.
Mhm.
And I said, church, and he said,
Listen on Google Translate if you want.
yeah. I was reading on about where we're going next, about the thing about lesions and,
Mhm.
the swine and stuff.
Which is,
But I didn't realize the part of the story started with the man in the tombs.
Yeah.
Screaming, and he was extra strong and all that. I didn't realize that was the same story.
same guy, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so was he okay after that?
evidently, I don't think it says,
Well, he didn't get thrown in the sea, did he?
no, they came out of him.
Okay.
And the man who had been demon possessed was begging him that he might accompany him, and he didn't let him. But he said to him, go home to your people and report to them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he had mercy on you. And so he sent him back, and then he went to the Decapolis, which is a cool place. But I don't understand the story at all. I mean, I understand what it says. It says that, but the whys and wherefores and the practicality of it all, you just have to wonder. And then the response from these people is kind of odd too. They beg him to leave. It could be, in fact, I think it is. They just didn't want to get involved,
Well, that's the way it is nowadays. Yeah.
But secondly, I wonder if this guy was making money for him. I wonder if people came from other places to see him, because this is kind of a thing, This would kind of be,
Like circus.
yeah. Well, P.T. Barnum made millions of dollars doing the same thing, showing people like this stuff.
Yeah, he could break chains and,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, he called it a freak show,
yeah.
and but this kind of is, he stays out there in the tombs, and then people could stand, away and watch the weird things that he did. Maybe they could make him do weird things.
Why does people like a train wreck? Like you were talking about the neighbors watching the ambulance. Why does people like to watch destruction?
Yeah, and everybody has. I mean, I remember now the train wrecks that have happened lately have made the news, because that one that, but I can remember when that guy, I think he came out, he was texting while he was driving the train, let it go too fast. About Washington D.C. and it derailed.
Wow.
There was a motor car, a streetcar, same thing happened to in San Francisco.
But didn't they used to get two locomotives and put them face to face and then run into each other? And
Okay.
people paid money to watch?
Oh, I don't know.
I think I saw that on History before. So I don't think it's just a cliche. I think it's real.
And there are a group of people who are actual fans, but then there's a small group of people that go to NASCAR races just to see a crash. You know, that's what they want. And
Well, I guess like wrestling, even though it's fake, they like the violence and the
Mhm.
hype. I don't. I like Tom.
I used to, when I was younger, I liked the show. The
Yeah.
WCW, that doesn't exist anymore. WWE now
Yeah.
puts on. But honestly, in fact, that's the theme of Wheel of Fortune this week.
Really?
WWE, I'm not sure why.
Are the people that wrestlers are playing on the show?
That I don't know.
Or just the theme?
They dress oddly, like,
Mhm.
you know, you would dress for more, but not really so much. And they're winning things like trips to a WWE event of your choice
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff. So I don't think they are,
Uh,
but I don't really know. It's going to be over soon. I'm kind of glad. Jeopardy doesn't have a champion now. He's having as much of new champions every couple of days or so. That's a show I really like.
Well, this part on 5 where they said he constantly day and night was screaming
Mm-hmm.
and in the mountains, and then he gnashed himself with stones. Does that mean he hit himself?
Cutting himself is what it says with stones.
Mine
So
says
in my
gnashing.
version, it says cutting himself. Gash would be cutting.
Okay.
Um,
Well, gnashing. So I was thinking like, when they say gnashing of teeth.
yeah.
Let me
You're
try,
not
let me
looking.
try to change my version. Let's see if I
No one was strong enough to subdue him. Um,
can. Cutting himself. I went back to the King James version. It just said cutting himself with stones.
that's what I have a New American Standard.
Okay.
And then, though, he runs in verse 6 up to Jesus and bows down before him. And shouting in a loud voice, he said, "What business do you have with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you, by God, do not torment me." For he had already been saying to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And he was asking him, "What is your name?" And he said to him, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the region. Now there was a large herd of pigs feeding nearby on the mountain, and the demons begged him, saying, "Send us into the pigs so that we may enter them." Jesus gave them permission, and coming out, the unclean spirits entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the sea, about 2,000 of them, and they were drowned in the sea. Now, this story I do not understand. I understand the part that there's a lot of demons inside this guy, and they're making him strong this way. But why is this the solution that they pick, and why do the pigs drown?
But my question is, would it kill the spirits in the first place? Because
I don't
they're
know. It
supernatural,
doesn't say.
or they just stayed in the dead pig in the bottom of the sea.
Yeah. They don't. What they're concerned about, though, is him not send them out of the area.
Mm-hmm. That's what I asked. Me and Joe was having that
Why?
issue.
Why do they care?
I don't. What was the issue? What were they going to do to him?
What I was binge watching a while ago was that supernatural story that's
Uh-huh.
way too ultra unbiblical, but used a biblical thing. But now they seem to have this idea that demons here on earth didn't want to be sent back to hell because it was just torment
Too
there.
bad.
They wanted to stay here. That could
Kind of
fit.
like it's vacation here versus hell there.
Right. Well, I mean, it was said that there were demons there that just existed to torment
Mhm.
others.
This poor guy sounds like he was
Now, Dean was
tormented
one of
really
them for a
bad.
while.
Who?
Dean, the show.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, is that what is here? I don't know, but it would fit
Mhm.
kind of their motivation. They don't want to get sent out of the area.
Mhm.
Which Vicky was here, she'd have something to say about it. But well, it's true. I mean, she thinks about this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
And the demons kept saying, Send us into the pigs so that we may enter them. Why do they want to go to the pigs?
Mm.
Um,
And maybe back there in that area, they thought pigs were kind of disposable,
mhm.
I guess. So were they being like herded or were they just
I
wild?
don't know where is he? Came to the other side of the sea in the region of the Gerasenes. I'm kind of wondering.
Because they did not eat them, did they?
They couldn't.
Okay,
In
that's what I
fact, you
thought.
can't touch them.
Right.
So let me look on my phone. What are Gerasenes? Seems like I've done this before, trying to make sense out of this. Gerasenes. Those who come from a pilgrimage or fight. That's gathering. Gerasenes. What is the meaning of Gerasenes? An inhabitant of the ancient Palestinian town Gerasa. So it's Palestinian.
It must have been horrible if they didn't want to go. Didn't want
Gerasenes. The Gerasenes were people of the district which Gerasa was the capital. Gerasenes in place of gathering. The miracle referred to took place down near the town of Gergasa, the modern Cursa. I don't know what that is. Eastern shore of the Sea of Galilee, and hence the country of the Gergesenes. But as Gergasa was a small village and little known, the evangelist who wrote for more distant readers spoke of the events taking place in the country of the gathering. So it looks like I'm trying to find, indeed, in the Roman age, no city of Palestine was better known. It became one of the proudest cities of Syria. It was situated some 30 miles southeast of Gadara. So they were Gentiles.
to. So maybe the Gentiles would eat the
The
pig.
Palestinians,
Would they eat the pig?
they evidently would, but they will not now. Muslims don't eat pigs either.
I was going to get, I had a question about India. I'm not changing, I am totally changing the subject. But I was going to buy Isabella something for Easter.
Uh-huh.
And they had such a cute little pink elephant.
Yeah.
But I was torn on decisions because I'm not sure about India with the symbolizing of the elephant.
Ganesh.
Yeah, so I didn't want to get her elephant because,
Well, I don't know. I doubt.
uh,
I don't know. Ask Maria.
well, I didn't want, I was just, I don't
I
believe,
wouldn't- I wouldn't think Maria cared. Because I don't think she's ever going to be raised
right,
in any Hindu
Right.
religion.
well, I just didn't want to
But
kind of mix that together. I know that's silly, but
I think Ganesh has like many arms too, along with an elephant head.
is that with the,
Yeah. Now this, so far as the Gerasenes, they were Gentiles, so they probably, that's why these guys were with pigs.
Hmm.
But the odd thing is, to me, why are they there? Why is Jesus and the disciples there? It's modern day Syria. And then why are they anywhere near a large herd of pigs? Well, most Jews would get away from the pigs. I mean, you don't touch them. You don't have anything to do with them.
right.
Um,
Is it because their hoof is split? Because of the food laws?
yeah, the hoof can't be split. But mostly, I think the reason behind it is because of what they eat and
Oh,
how dangerous they are to eat.
scavengers.
Even today, they are. You know,
Because
they're
of trichinosis.
trichinosis, which is worms.
No.
And you have to kill them, which means you have to eat the worms' carcasses and you eat pork.
Yeah,
Um,
what we like from pork.
But yeah, and we eat it. Now, I don't get it. These demons choose to be sent into an unclean animal too,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of weird to me. I mean, it's not what you would expect. I've read about this stuff, and people bring up fanciful tales about all this stuff, and almost like a fairy tale. And does not work. Um, and then why would they well, it's not that they would prefer, but Jesus could send them out like he did every one of the other ones. You know, he sent them away. You know?
Yeah.
But, and then that thing that Vicky brings up, I think he's talking about an actual demon. That the spirits go back, and then they seven spirits, they wander back and finds, you know, no place to. Well, they want to go into swine and drown the swine in the sea. Is that the end of them, like you mentioned before, or is that
Just escape.
do they escape Jesus and they get to stay there maybe and inhabit somebody else in that town? I don't know. You know, and it's odd to me that this is not a Jew. The guy that's possessed is a Gentile, a Syrian, Pharisee. So,
Then he says, what business do we have with each other?
yeah,
And he calls him Jesus, the Son of the Most High God.
Yeah.
So he knows who he is.
yeah. They all do.
It's amazing that a demon knows more than some people.
Well, James brings that up. He says, because the big thing about the Jews, and later on the Muslims and us, you know, the Shema is a big deal to the Jews. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord, he is one. Well, James takes that in his book, his epistle, and says, you believe in one God, thou doest well. Even the demons believe and tremble. You know, you're just as spiritual as a demon is what James is saying. So this one, I guess we can't say anything definitive because it's just the two of us here, so we haven't really covered it. Everybody's got to cover it Sunday morning, but I don't have a clue about a lot of the whys and wherefores of this stuff. I really don't.
Yeah, sometimes you wish they would have been a little more detailed.
Yeah, there's more questions about this than there's answers to me. Which, you know, we are many. Now, a legion was several thousand Roman soldiers. I don't know if that's how many there are here, but it just means many. But the legions were several thousand. Legionnaires were several million people.
And he asked several times too, it sounds like, because he was asking again, basically, it sounds like, come out.
And
they're like stubborn.
Yeah, and they're even saying, you know, leave us alone, but, you know. But then send us into the pigs. That's their best alternative. I don't get it. I mean, and the pigs were 2,000 pigs. And I don't know if a whole bunch of demons inhabited one of each pig, or one per pig, or several dozen or several thousand in one pig, and you know all the other pigs. And they were drowned in the sea. Now, if they're eating these pigs, it's a business in verse 14. When the herdsmen run away, this is a big economic disaster. You know, kind of like what we're in right now, inflation or recession. I don't know. And when these guys see that he's been healed, they ask Jesus to leave. In fact, that's all they see. You know, they hear what the herdsman said, and they believe them evidently, and then they see this guy sitting down, clothed and in his right mind. They became frightened. Now, are they frightened that Jesus is too powerful? They don't want to get involved in this whole thing, or are they frightened that this guy is no longer going to make money for them and they're going to be poor, and plus they've already lost all these pigs?
Yeah.
So, again, this is more. And this guy wants to come with him. And he says, no, go and report to your hometown. And I would love if someone in the Bible would have wrote what happened when this guy got back home and how, and maybe, we do know that Jesus takes up some time with Gentiles, but here's a whole city full of Gentiles.
Well, it says he went on his way and he told all the great things that he has done, and everybody was amazed.
In Decapolis, which means literally 10 cities.
Mm.
I always thought Decapolis, but I think I'm wrong. I think it's a Gentile place. I always thought those were the cities of refuge, of the Levites, because they got no land. But I don't think it is. I think Decapolis is the land of the 10 cities. It's a Gentile area. Everyone was amazed. So he went on, but that's the end of it. This guy says, look, I was crazy and weird and strong, and I'm not anymore. And I need to go figure. I have no clue. And the rest of them is one of the most beautiful stories is about Jairus, synagogue official, which means it might actually mean, in fact, probably does, that he's a member of the Sanhedrin. So here's the third guy that we know by name that's in Jesus' trial that believes in him: Jairus, Nicodemus, and Joseph of Arimathea. And if he is one of the synagogue officials, well, I don't know, because this isn't Jerusalem. This just simply is a guy from the synagogue, not the temple. Just a local congregation. Maybe it's not. He's just one of the guys that are at the synagogue. And then he said, my little daughter's at the point of death, please come and lay your hands on her. She will go well and alive. And he went off with him. The large crowd was following and pressing in on him. While he was getting there, this is the woman that just touched his garment, and she got well. And then she says, who touched me? And then he comes there, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be cured of your disease. And then they came to that your daughter has died. Why bother to teach her further? But then he overhears what's been spoken and said, the synagogue official, don't be afraid, only believe. And he allowed no one to come to him except Peter, James, and John, John, the brother of James. And they came in the house of the synagogue official, and he saw a commotion and people loudly wailing. And after entering, he said, why are you making a commotion and weeping? This child is not dying, he's asleep. And here, what happens is, he takes the child and this is something that a lot of Bible translators look at, that Jesus, and I think they're right, he says, Talitha kum, or some versions say, Talitha kumi. It's Aramaic, so the alphabet's going to be different, the letters are going to be different. But all that actually says literally is, little girl, come. But look at what in parentheses it says, which that Mark writes, which translated means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Now, that is what people have used to use what's called, that we should use what's called idiomatic translation of the scriptures. That means what it actually meant to the people, if you have to add or subtract words to make it work. Because Hebrew and Greek and Aramaic, if you translate it literally, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, just substitute an English word for a Greek word, or an English word for an Aramaic word, an English word for a Hebrew word. It doesn't make sense.
Well, it kind of sounds like the child was actually dead, and
He was.
he raised her.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. She died, so they wanted Jesus to go home, not to bother. You see, like the first words of the Bible in Hebrew, Bereshit Barak Elohim, that means in the head, he created, God, the heavens and the earth. Now, because we know what it means, we can get it. But in Hebrew, that's what you do. The pronouns are in the verb. They're on the end of the verb. And they are in every other language but ours. But to name who the person is at the end, Elohim, God, which is an odd name too, because it literally translates God's, because Im means plural. I am at the end of a word. So they always use it to talk about God, but he always is plural, Elohim, but it's pronounced. And there is no such word in Hebrew that sounds like God. Okay, it doesn't, God has no significance. The sound God has no significance in Hebrew or Greek. So, should you translate something, when you're translating into a language, translate it into as if it were said in that language, or should you literally translate exactly what the word is as the English equivalent of that word? Because if you did that, you would never understand
Right.
the whole Bible. There's no way.
Well, that's why some people say the Bible isn't correct, because they had to do some of this. And they said, well, if they did that, then they wrote their own translation.
Well, to put it as simply as you can, camisa roja. That means red shirt. But that's Spanish. The way it's written, and that's the way it's supposed to be written, camisa roja, it's shirt red.
Hmm.
We don't do that in the English. To say what that is in English, we would switch the words around and say red shirt. And that's what we do all the time. Well, in this case, talita kumi, that is to say, little girl, I say unto you, come to me. That's more than what's written, but that's exactly what they took it to mean. See, that's what idiomatic translation. English adds words, not as many as some other language. I think Russian's even worse. But
It sounds like it's such an angry language. Woo.
most German too.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people speak German, say it's lovely. I just don't think it is.
It's not pretty.
Frau Oberst. And to them, it's just that when they speak it, it actually kind of is. Except when Hitler did it. But the thing is, it's just odd to me, that, I don't know. People say, oh, that's not what the Bible says. Well, yeah, it is.
I think they just want an excuse to contradict it, or to say it's contradictory, or just,
Yeah, because they look at the language and they don't understand what's going on. Shema Yisrael. You hear Israel. Now that doesn't mean what we say it means. Hear, O Israel, means what it meant. There's no O there. You hear Israel. To us, that would mean you listen to the Jews. Adonai Eloheinu, our Lord God. Adonai Echad, Lord one. That's what it means. Which to us, that means, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord, he is one. But to translate it literally, it would be Shema Yisrael, you hear Israel, Adonai, Lord, Eloheinu, our God, which is kind of close. So that'd be Adonai Echad, Lord one. But because Echad and Adonai is together, they equate them. The verb to be is not meant to be there. It has to be there in English. The Lord, he is one. And the article the, most languages don't use it near as much as we do. An A, but we make a big deal of it.
well, we
Because-
use A and B so much.
Yeah, I bet they mean totally different things. Just one of them is A, but the one and only. I had to do this because the kids mess it up. They put the in all kinds of ways. Because you can't use the there because it means the one and only thing. A means any one of the things that are called that. But that's so important to English, but it's absolutely not important to most other languages, because most other languages, the verbs are actually plural or singular. We don't have that. We just add an S or it depends on who's doing it, but not, the adjectives are masculine, neuter, or feminine, and they have to match what they, it's a lot more precise in English is that way. We use word order, they don't use word order that much. Word order is kind of meaningless in most language. You put what you want to emphasize at the beginning of the sentence. I mean, if you want the fact that it's a shirt, you put camisa at the beginning. If you want people to know how red it was, you put raw at the beginning. So, who knows? I guess we should quit here. We have a prayer and leave.
Yeah.
Are you staying or are you going?
I need to go.
Okay.
I'm whooped. Whooped in the,
All
I
right.
get, the check that Jennifer gave me, she wrote the amount.
I know, I saw that.
So they wouldn't take it. So
They would take it?
No, I have to write her a note and send it to her.
Okay. But you have her address and everything. But she sends those things. Tell her it's, I told her she won't listen. It costs her $11 to mail a check.
What?
She mails it secure mail, all this kind of stuff, insured. Just to make it in a regular envelope for 60-something cents, you know?
Yeah.
It costs her $11.99 to mail that.
I didn't know that.
Get a card and stuff. You check that card.
Oh, no.
All right. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and also any blessings. We ask our Father to be with each and every one of us. Help us do those things that are right. You care for us and for our sin we pray. Amen. We wouldn't go in the,
No, I went through the bank drive-through and she said we can't accept it.
the ATM would probably do it.
They don't.
They always do. In fact, I had to call Teresa and follow my sword 2 or 3 years ago. I had put some of Roland's checks made out to the church. I just put them in the wrong stack. I didn't even look at them when I was doing it. And I just put them in the thing and took every one of them. Wow. And so I had to say, here, Teresa, here's the check I asked for. Destroy it, but I can do it for this. She said, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I asked for
She
you to
was
reimburse you, reversed you for that thing.
That I didn't keep track of
What?
on the spreadsheet.
Mm.
I
Well, I'm
just,
talking about the,
oh, that, don't worry about it. We're okay right now. Maybe I'll need it one day. Or just add it onto my salary for next month. I don't care.
I'll make her do it separately because
Oh, yeah, there don't have to be taxes on
she fusses at me.
it.
If it ain't just perfect, she is like,
Well, if you're ever in a nice way talking to her, there's a question I have about the sale of that property. And it's just something I'm curious about. Behind my fence back there in the backyard, that used to be older than Mary's, for a while, about, I don't know, about a third of the way to Teresa's. Did they keep that, or did those people have it?
from what I looked, where the stake is out there and it goes straight across,
Yeah,
that's all they have.
so that block maybe Miss Teresa's,
Mhm.
or was it Jane and Leslie's, and they sold it when they sold out? Now that I couldn't tell you.
I don't know.
That's what I was thinking about the property.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of
It's not like,
side property.
over here, we got way more than we do over there.
Is that little driveway, is that
Us,
church property?
that fence that they have is about the line
Um,
that they have. And, well, you and Joe put my fence
Mhm.
almost on line, but it's about a foot over. Remember Joe got it wrong? He told me. So it's about a foot over, so I make sure, I'm gonna do it on this one too. I think the same thing happened on that side of my fence too. So I make sure to keep it mowed on all 3 sides back there, because if you don't, if we don't maintain it, they can easily take it.
Yeah.
They can squat on it.
Yeah.
And they could claim it's an easement.
Mhm.
I don't think that people probably that have it now would, but some people down the road would.
Well, they threatened to put up a fence and I'm all for that. Go right here.
Yeah, but I told them they could not use my fence.
Oh, no, not really.
as the line. They could if it was exactly on the line, but
It isn't,
it's not.
no,
So they'd have to put it up there and I would use their fence,
right,
which would be great because Max hates everything over there.
yeah.
And if anything happens over there, he gets mad.
They're loud,
sad.
ain't they?
They're not loud.
Oh, I thought they were,
They don't seem to be. I don't hear them.
Donna said they were playing music and
These people.
cutting, using tape, you know,
They never do
electric
that.
saws,
But they look a lot. They, you know, I don't know.
I don't think we're that interested.
I don't think they are either, but, you know, I don't know. It's just odd to me, but it can be odd to me, but,
Are we still on video?
no, we're about to be off. I think. I've been trying to get us off here. There we go.
Is the other one YouTube or?
The other one's YouTube. And it's on now, but it's fixing to be off. And it's gone
Okay.
right now.